Hi everyone, welcome back to the Always Active podcast, the show that empowers you to lead an active lifestyle. I'm your host Katie, and in this episode, we'll be chatting all things refreshing your health and wellness routines for spring. Spring clean your routine, if you will. I'll be including different tips for goal setting and planning, as well as sharing a bunch of different ideas for healthy spring habits that you can incorporate into your routine, as well as ways to upgrade your fitness routine specifically. And at the end of the episode, I'll be sharing a bucket list of different activities that you can do this spring to make leading a healthy lifestyle more enjoyable. I personally feel like spring is a new beginning, and I know that's definitely a shared feeling. With the time change and there being more sunlight, as well as the hope of longer days ahead and the warmer weather, I really like to embrace the change in season, and it helps me to feel re-inspired, puts me in a better mood, and gives me more energy. And if you are looking for that spark of motivation, now really is the perfect time to either set new goals or get back on track with goals that you may have fallen off of. Thinking back to an example from my own life last year, it was an extremely cold and gloomy winter, and I was in a major slump with my health and fitness routines, and the spring really did mark the beginning of my transformation. I kind of emerged from that hibernation era and got out of my slump. And so this year I am thriving because spring came early, even though as I'm looking out my window right now, it's snowing outside, but I swear last week it was warm and it felt like spring. So I'm keeping those warm, sunny thoughts at the forefront as I record this episode. Of course, the main focus of this podcast is on fitness, but today I'll be incorporating other aspects of health and wellness into the episode, as well as just wholesome activities that you can do to romanticize leading a healthy, active lifestyle, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We want to make active living something that is sustainable and enjoyable, and just incorporating fitness into our overall healthy routine. So without further ado, let's get psyched to move. So to mark the start of the spring season, for this week's study spotlight, I wanted to share a study that explored the fresh start effect, which is something that you may or may not have heard of before, but essentially it's a psychological phenomenon that explains that people are more motivated to pursue their goals and take action on things that they've been putting off following major landmarks in time. So think the start of the new year, the start of a new season, a new semester, or even your birthday. So the study that I looked at proposed that the fresh start effect happens for two main reasons. The first reason is that we mentally break down time into different periods. So at these time landmarks, we start to associate our mistakes of the past with a past phase of our life, which means that the future offers an opportunity for us to have that clean slate. The second reason is that these time landmarks indicate that time is passing, and it takes our focus away from the day-to-day activities that we do, and it reminds us to take a big picture look at our lives, which often is related to setting goals so that we can achieve those big picture desires in our life. So how can we practically apply the fresh start effect? Well, we can take advantage of these fresh start feelings and begin pursuing our goals now at the beginning of a new season. Of course, this effect is short-lived and it'll wear off with time, which is why people often fail at their New Year's resolutions. So we need to be strategic if we want to actually achieve our goals. And that means taking action in addition to having this little spurt of motivation. So taking action would include things like setting goals, making plans, tracking our progress, which I'll definitely be sure to share more about in future episodes. So I would encourage you to take advantage of this fresh start effect while it's in full effect, because it can serve as a springboard to help you work toward achieving your goals. This week's movement mindset is that consistency is key. Now, this is not anything groundbreaking, and you've heard this before, but the reason I've been thinking about it is because over the past month, I've finally been able to do wide grip pull-ups, which is a goal that I've had for a couple years now, and I've spent the past couple years trying and failing and wondering why I'm not able to get my pull-ups until now. And last weekend, I was able to do 4 unassisted pull-ups. If you follow me on social media, you've already seen me post about this. No, I will not stop talking about it. And yes, I've made this a personality trait of mine. But seriously, achieving this goal is a big deal for me, and there is a key takeaway lesson that comes from this. One of my friends who has been on this journey with me ever since I set this goal over 2 years ago asked if I had any tips when she was congratulating me on achieving this goal. And the main reason that I achieved this is because I finally made it a priority and got consistent. Over the past several months, I've included pull-ups in my gym routine, and I've been doing them at least once almost every single week. And it's because they've been part of the program that I've been following at the gym. And that was it. That was the difference maker. Just putting in the reps week after week is what helped me to achieve my goal. So keep this in mind with whatever goal you're trying to achieve. If you want to achieve a goal, you need to be consistent and put in the reps, either literally at the gym or figuratively in other areas of your life. So the rest of this episode will be all about refreshing your routines for spring. I've created a resource which is linked in the show notes, and I've listed out all of the different healthy habits that I'll be sharing, as well as the bucket list activity ideas. So be sure to check that out. Before diving into these different ideas, I wanted to start by sharing some tips for goal setting and planning. Because yes, this episode is meant to inspire you, but having those practical tips to take action is important. The fresh start effect is really only the beginning, and we need to regularly set goals and check in on our progress if we want to achieve these things. So I'll share what I like to do, and this has been my goal setting process for the past year or so. What I'll do is every month I meet with a couple of my accountability buddies over Zoom at the beginning of each month. And this is a scheduled event in my calendar, so it's a commitment to myself as well as my goal setting buddies. And each month we check in on our goals from the previous month and then set new goals for the next month. I personally like to set 3 goals per month because this seems practical and realistic for me. And then I also pick a reward. So if I complete my goals, then I will get this reward for myself at the end of the month. So for example, my goals for March are to wake up earlier and upgrade my morning routine. I'd also like to start a new journal practice. And I'd also like to start sharing short videos on social media. So be sure to watch out for those coming very soon. So as you can see, these are 3 goals that are in different areas of my life. Some of them take more commitment, some of them are basic habits, but overall I want to maintain my existing healthy habits and then just introduce a few new ones. So my tip would be to spend a couple hours at the beginning of the new month or the beginning of the new season and set a few goals and pick a few habits that you want to start. Really just do what works best for you in terms of the frequency of how often you're going through this goal setting process. For me, it's the beginning of each month. Also do what works for you in terms of the number of goals that you're setting, and pick goals that are personally meaningful to you. Don't just pick a goal because it seems like it's something that everyone else is doing or it's something you feel that you should do. Do what is actually meaningful, and that will help you to be more motivated. So that was just a quick overview of what works for me. I will definitely be diving into more detail about goal setting and planning strategies in a future episode. But I felt that it was important to share this foundation before sharing the healthy habits. So now it's time for some inspiration for new habits that you can incorporate into your routine. I'll start off with habits that are more spring specific. So these have to do with the outdoors, more sunlight, and warmer weather. The first healthy habit is to get morning sunlight exposure. This is something that I haven't been doing yet, but it's something that I would like to start doing. And it's recommended by Andrew Huberman, who, if you're listening to my podcast, you probably are familiar with his podcast as well. But the recommendation is to get outside first thing in the morning. If it's a sunny day, spend 5 to 10 minutes outside. And if it's a cloudy day, spend 15 to 20 minutes outside. And the purpose of doing this is that there are benefits for your mood and improving your sleep. Now, related to this, the next habit is just to spend more time outdoors. So not necessarily in the morning specifically, but there are lots of benefits for your physical and mental health. The next habit is to open the windows for fresh air. This was something that I was doing recently in the winter as well, but it's nice to open up the windows because I don't know about you, but I feel like spring has a smell to it. There's like a nice natural air freshener. And it also helps to improve the air quality in your space. And I feel like it makes me more productive and puts me in a better mood just based on my own personal observation. And the final spring-specific habit is to wake up earlier. Now, I recognize we all have different commitments and lifestyles, whether we're in school or working. whether we're working from home or in an office. Basically, just make this work for you. And if possible, I think it's beneficial to take advantage of the fact that the sun will be continuing to rise earlier throughout the rest of the spring and into the summer. Even if it's just 10 extra minutes to add to your morning routine, that's 10 minutes that you can spend incorporating 1 or 2 healthy habits. And like I mentioned before, waking up earlier is one of my goals for the month of March. Personally, I have a flexible wake-up time because I am a grad student, so I kind of get to set my hours for when I start and end work. But my goal is to gradually shift my wake-up time as the sun rises earlier. I really like waking up with the sun. Several years ago, I was waking up at 5:30 every day, and I often think back to that time because I really loved it and felt that I was super productive and energized and just making the most of every hour of sunlight, and I kind of want to get back to that. I don't know if 5:30 is a realistic wake-up time for me, but generally just shifting my wake-up time to start my day a little bit earlier. These next ideas have to do with upgrading your spring fitness routine. The first one is to do more activities outside, and this can be either on your own or with friends. I really like doing social activities with friends outside when the weather gets warmer, whether it's going for a walk or a bike ride or playing an outdoor sport together. I just find it's nice to take advantage of the warmer weather and spend time with friends outside. Another thing that I'll be doing is incorporating more walks throughout the day. So going for a walk to get that morning sunlight, and also maybe on my lunch break, and after dinner is nice because since the sun is setting later, you can get outside after your dinner to kind of help with digestion and wind down for the night. The next thing that I'll be doing is changing the time of day that I work out, which is related to the habit of waking up earlier, because if I'm waking up earlier, then this shifts the start time of my workday, and it'll also shift the time of my workout, which will also shift the time of my bedtime. But I think this is a simple way to change up your routine and feel re-inspired. If you are feeling a little bit in a slump with your fitness routine, simply change the time of day that you're working out. Next, now is a great time to try new activities, especially outdoor activities. And be sure to listen to the last episode of the podcast if you haven't already for some ideas of different activities you can do. And one of the responses that I got on Instagram when I asked about things that you'd like to start doing this spring, someone said start going to the gym. So if going to the gym is a new activity for you, now is a great time to start. Another way to upgrade your fitness routine is to change your environment. So maybe you're shifting from indoor to incorporating some outdoor workouts into your routine. But maybe you're also just switching to a totally different facility. So for example, last spring, like I had mentioned, I was in a major slump throughout the winter, feeling very unmotivated with my fitness routine, and I simply changed the main gym that I work out at. It was still the same membership, I just went to a different facility, and that was a big part of what got me to be more motivated throughout the rest of the spring and summer. And the last idea to upgrade your spring fitness routine is to set new fitness goals. Personally, I'm in the last week of my current gym program, and so next week I'll be starting a new gym program, which I'm really looking forward to. As much as I've enjoyed the program that I've been doing, it's been several months of doing this, and I'm ready to start something new. And another community response that I got on Instagram was someone said they wanted to run a marathon, so that's really cool. If that's your fitness goal, definitely go for that. But just think about what's a goal that you would like to pursue this spring related to your fitness, and that can be a great way to inspire you. The next set of habits has to do with upgrading your spring morning and night routines. And I do feel like your morning and night routines are pretty essential to structuring your entire day. So the habits that we incorporate during these times can really be influential for how we show up in other areas of our lives. These tips are again related to the time change and potentially waking up earlier if that's a goal of yours. But to wake up earlier, you need an earlier bedtime. Personally, I focused on upgrading my night routine during the fall and winter, so now that I have those habits in place, I'd like to focus on upgrading my morning routine in the spring and into the summer. So here are some ideas of things that you can include in your routines. Remember to keep it simple, and also remember that your routine can look a little bit different every day. So starting with the night routine, because like I said, the night routine is the foundation which will set you up for success for your morning routine. Some ideas of things that you can do at night include turning on ambient lighting. This is something I've really been liking to do over the past several years, is turn off all the overhead lights and just turn on a couple of lamps. It really helps you to wind down and feel more relaxed before going to sleep. This is when you can do your skincare and brush your teeth. Also, stretching is a great habit to do before bed. I like to follow Yoga with Bird videos on YouTube, and they're just super relaxing, restorative yoga stretches, and I love it. It makes me feel so relaxed, and on the nights when I do find the time to stretch, I feel way more ready to go to sleep. I also put on my blue light glasses because apparently those are supposed to help with your sleep quality if you're looking at screens, but I think the better habit to do would just be to limit screen time, but I'm not quite there yet. Something else that I like to do is spray sleeping spray on my pillow before I go to sleep, because then you associate the scent of this essential oil with going to sleep and relaxing. I actually just ran out of the sleeping spray that I was using, so I was considering changing the scent going into the new season. This is also a great time to journal. I have the 5-minute journal, which is super easy, and in the nighttime, it just asks you to write down 3 things that were your highlights of the day and 2 things that you learned during the day. And like I mentioned earlier, I'd like to upgrade my journal practice and do something a little bit more detailed, so that's something I'll be working toward into the spring. And of course, this is the time where you're going to be setting your alarm for the next morning. So work backwards from the time that you want to wake up in the morning, try to get that 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and then set your alarm accordingly. And then 2 other habits that I'd like to incorporate, but again, I'm not quite there yet, is meditating. I think it can be super beneficial to meditate before you go to sleep. And also reading. This is something I've been pretty inconsistent with, but I'd like to be more of a reader before bed. And I think that's a good way to swap out my screen time at night is with reading instead. Okay, so you've done your night routine, you set your alarm for next morning, had a restful night's sleep, and now you're waking up at the time that you set the night before. Here are some ideas of what you can incorporate into your morning routine. The first thing I like to do in the morning is journal, and I've actually found that if I don't journal immediately after I wake up, I'm not going to be journaling in the morning. So I like to put my 5-minute journal right next to my phone where it's charging, so that way it's the first thing that I do in the morning is write in my 5-minute journal. And the prompts are super simple. It just asks you to list 3 things that you're grateful for, 3 things that would make today amazing, and write out 2 affirmations. And the next habit, which I think every single self-help person has ever recommended, is to make your bed in the morning. I find that making my bed is a very simple habit that kind of sets me off on the right foot, and it's a quick little check mark that I can do on my to-do list to get the momentum generated and have a productive day. Of course, drinking water, making yourself a healthy breakfast. I like to drink tea in the morning lately. I've been drinking a non-caffeinated cinnamon tea, which has been a nice morning ritual. And I also take my supplements at this time. This is the time when you can do your skincare and brush your teeth. And then a few other habits I like to do are tidy up my workspace quickly. I will sometimes turn on a diffuser with essential oils. As an alternative, you can simply open the window to let in that fresh spring air. And then the last step of my morning routine is just planning out my day, writing out my to-do list, and time blocking my Google Calendar so that I know what I'm going to be working on for the day ahead. And then some other ideas for morning routine habits that I don't currently do, but maybe it's something that you'd like to do. Those would be stretching in the morning, exercising, maybe you do your workout in the morning. I'm not really much of a morning workout person at the moment, but I know a lot of people are. Maybe you'd like to meditate in the morning. And also, this is the time when you would get that morning sunlight first thing. So stay tuned for my updates on how that habit goes. The last set of habits that I'm going to share are related to healthy nutrition habits. The first one is to stay hydrated, especially if you're spending more time outdoors. Be sure to consistently be drinking enough water. Some simple ideas for eating healthier, if that's one of your goals, are to cook more meals at home. Maybe you can start meal planning and prepping, and also prioritizing increasing your protein intake or maybe your fruit and vegetable intake, depending on what your goals are right now. And 2 ideas that are a little bit more spring specific are to grill your food outdoors on the barbecue, if that's something that you have access to, and also transition to seasonal produce and seasonal meals. So maybe look up some spring recipes that you'd like to try out and look up what fruits and vegetables are seasonal in the area that you're living, and you can start incorporating these into your meals. So those are all the healthy habits that I'm going to share. Moving on to the spring bucket list, I've come up with a huge list of wholesome activities that you can do during the spring. This is really just for fun, but I think that having these activities to look forward to can even serve as ways to reward yourself for putting in the reps and that day-to-day effort for all of the healthy habits that you're doing. So I would recommend to pick out your faves from this list and then make a plan to actually follow through with and do them. And again, you can check out that resource listed in the show notes. I've actually included some bonus ideas in there that I won't be mentioning in the podcast. So our first category of spring bucket list activities would be outdoor activities, specifically fitness-related ones. The first idea is to explore a new trail or a new park, and you can go on a hike or a bike ride or just spend time outside in whatever way works for you. Another idea is to either play golf or go mini putting depending on your interest there. Something else you can do is to sign up for a charity walk or run. So you can either join or create a team for a cause that you care about and pick whatever distance you're able to do, whether it's a 1 kilometer walk or a half marathon. And another idea, now that tennis courts and basketball courts and soccer fields will be opening up, is to take advantage of those outdoor spaces that you can use and play outdoor sports. Some other outdoor activities that are not fitness related, the first one would be to watch the sunrise or the sunset. I actually did a 7-day sunrise challenge a couple years ago, and that was such a great experience, and it just reminded me that there is a sunrise happening every day, and you can watch it in whatever area you're living, and it just helps to start off your day on a good note and really see the beauty of the sunrise that we often take for granted. Another idea is to watch a sports game. I know that the baseball and soccer seasons have recently begun, so watch whatever sports you're interested in. And another thing that you could watch is fireworks, because there are a couple different spring holidays that celebrate with fireworks. Something that I would love to do this year is visit a cherry blossom park to witness the cherry blossoms bloom at the beginning of the spring, or visit a flower farm, and these would be really cute photo ops if that's something that's interesting to you. Also, having a picnic in the park could be really fun, and other places you might want to visit would be a winery or a farmer's market. You could also plan a trip, whether it's a day trip to somewhere nearby, or if it's a longer trip, like a weekend getaway or a week-long vacation. Something that you could do at home is start a spring garden, so whether you're planting flowers or herbs. And another idea is to hold an egg hunt. This is something I did last year to celebrate Easter for the first time since I was a kid, and that was a fun time. Moving on to some indoor activities, because yes, there's lots of sun and warm weather in the spring, but there are also lots of rainy days. The first ones are related to cooking, so finding new recipes that you'd like to cook or bake, whether it's a dessert, new meal ideas, if you'd like to make a fun beverage like a cocktail or a mocktail, a smoothie, or a new coffee drink. Maybe you'd like to make a holiday themed meal for some of the spring holidays that are coming up. A few DIY creative activities to do indoors would be to create a spring mood board or a spring Pinterest board. You can create a playlist of songs that you like for the spring. You can make a craft. I feel like that would be fun. And also dyeing eggs. That's something I think I would like to do this year. I can't remember the last time that I've dyed Easter eggs, but just make some hard-boiled eggs and dye them, and then it's also meal prep, so 2 in 1. Reading a book would be a good, wholesome indoor activity. And also trying out a new fitness class, kind of like I mentioned in the last episode. If you're looking for an indoor fitness activity to do, that would be a good option. Another idea is to host a holiday-themed celebration. And if you like to shop, you can shop for some spring home decor. Honestly, just little things to spice up your space, whether it's new hand towels or maybe some fresh flowers or some plants. Just bringing more life into your space for spring. And also, of course, shopping for spring clothes. At the beginning of the fall and the beginning of the spring, I kind of like to shop for my wardrobe essentials for the upcoming season, so I'll definitely be doing that. And also maybe treating yourself to some new workout gear if that is on your wish list. Of course, we can't have a spring-themed episode without talking about spring cleaning. So the first thing would be to just do a deep clean of your spaces. I actually started doing this last weekend. I think I spent like 3 hours on a Saturday morning doing all of the cleaning tasks that I've been putting off for longer than I'd like to admit. So that was a good start. And then my next things that I'd like to do would be to tidy and organize my spaces, which would also include doing a little bit of a closet refresh. So getting rid of those clothes that you haven't worn in a long time, either winter clothes that you didn't wear this past season or spring and summer clothes that you remember that you didn't wear last year. Clean out your closet, and then you can either sell or donate your items and clothes, and maybe hold a yard sale. That could be another idea of an activity to do. And then in terms of some self-care things that you could do, I will be getting my quarterly haircut during this time, and also doing a spring nail design I think would be fun. Okay, and the last item on the spring bucket list is to celebrate any upcoming holidays and events. And I did my research for this, and there's actually a lot of holidays and events that happen between the months of March and June, so I'll quickly list out a couple of them right now. The first is Earth Hour on March 23rd. We have April Fool's Day on April 1st. National Walking Day is on April 3rd. I didn't know that one. Coachella Music Festival happens on April 12th. That's the first weekend. So if you're not going to the festival, I think a fun idea would be to host a Coachella themed party. I've seen that before and I think it's a creative idea. April 22nd is Earth Day. May 12th is Mother's Day. And then May 20th is Victoria Day. And May 27th is Memorial Day. And then looking ahead to June, we have World Bicycle Day on June 3rd and Global Running Day on June 5th. So lots of spring holidays and events to look forward to, and put them in your calendar so that you remember to celebrate them. So to end things off, I'll go through our community responses, and there was actually such a great turnout this time around, which was exciting. Clearly you're excited for spring, and so am I. So here we go. The first question was, in which area of your routine are you prioritizing healthy habits this spring? 44% of you are prioritizing fitness, and that's great because I'll be continuing to offer podcast episodes on lots of different fitness topics, so be sure to continue tuning in. And 31% of you said nutrition, 19% said sleep, and 6% said self-care. I would personally say I'm prioritizing sleep and self-care the most based on the goals that I shared at the beginning of the episode. The next question is, what aspect of spring are you most looking forward to? 46% of you said more sunlight, 29% said warmer weather, 25% said outdoor activities. I don't know why this is so funny. And 0% of you said spring holidays. So I guess you're not excited for all those holidays I listed. No, but seriously, maybe you weren't aware of some of the holidays. So hopefully now that I've shared them, you're feeling more excited. Yeah, for me, I would say I'm actually excited about all of these things. The warmer weather, I mean, it doesn't really get super warm in spring. I guess it depends on the year, but the more sunlight, definitely, because even though, like I said, it is currently snowing outside. Oh, wow, it actually picked up since I had mentioned that last. It's snowing outside, but the sun is not setting until like 7:30 p.m., so I can't complain. It's cold outside, but there's more sun. Everything's good. The next question was, in which season do you feel most motivated to pursue your health and wellness goals? And the highest response was for summer with 60% of you. Spring was a runner-up at 25%, then fall at 10%, and winter at 5%. So that was interesting to me. For some reason, I wasn't expecting such a high response for summer. But for the 25% of you that said spring, let's really capitalize on that motivation now. And for anyone who didn't say spring, hopefully I've convinced you of why now is a good time to get started on your goals through this episode. And the last question I asked was, what's on your spring bucket list? And there were a variety of great responses here, including start going to the gym, run a marathon, get outside more, golf, and incorporate more outdoor activities. So lots of the things that we've touched on in today's episode. And I am personally excited for all of these different things. But yeah, that was exciting to hear what's on your spring bucket list. And hopefully you have even more ideas after the episode. So that wraps up our spring reset episode. I hope you're feeling inspired to change up your routines and incorporate more healthy habits, as well as create your own spring bucket list and set your own goals and create your own plans for the upcoming season. Let me know what you're planning to do. And remember to check out that resource in the show notes where I list out the different healthy habits as well as the different bucket list ideas. Like I said before, now is the perfect time to start pursuing your health and fitness goals. So really take advantage of the fresh start, the time change, and the increased amount of sunlight. And we can do this together as a community. So thank you again. I appreciate all your support, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Always Active podcast. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I would be grateful if you could please leave a review. Also, be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at all.ways.active so that your responses can be featured in future episodes. See you next time.